Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
A gentleman named Sam sent me an email yesterday and asked me a question, and I get variations of this question all the time. And people ask about the idea that if you put stamps on something that is in an envelope, does that protect it from people who are not the post office? So we all know if I want to write you a letter, or if you want to write me a letter, you get my address, or I get your address, and my address is at the end of every video, P.O. Box 168, Atlas, Michigan 48411. And you take an envelope, you put a letter inside it, put a stamp on it, and you write my name and address on it, you put your return address on it, and you mail it to me. Once it enters the postal system, it becomes like sacred, right? And when it ends up in your mailbox, which, by the way, is also governed by the Postal Service, that you are authorized to remove it from your mailbox, but no one else is. And if somebody else does that, they're breaking the law. So I've had people say, Steve, then couldn't I, for instance, if I want to travel with money and don't want it taken with civil asset forfeiture, couldn't I put it in an envelope, address it to myself, put stamps on it, and that way it becomes mail? And so if anybody, including the police, tamper with it, well, that's bad news because they'd be violating federal law, wouldn't they? And there's a little more to it than that, but I've been asked this question so many times, I felt the need to answer it. So there are two different laws you'd be looking at here. One is the federal statute or the United States Code on this, and the other would be your state laws, because there are often state laws that address whether or not someone can steal your mail. You might say, Steve, they actually had to make a law about that? Well, there already is the federal law on point, but the state laws often address things a little differently. Sometimes they just simply overlap, but it depends. It depends. So if you're looking at the U.S. federal statutes on this, it's 18 U.S. Code 1705 that talks about mailboxes or mail, okay? So it says, whoever willfully or maliciously injures, tears down, or destroys any letterbox or other receptacle intended or used for the receipt or delivery of mail on any mail route, or breaks open the same, or willfully or maliciously injures, defaces, or destroys any mail deposited therein, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 3 years, or both. Now, it's got a whole bunch of stuff that you can't do. You can't tamper with mailboxes. And you also can't tamper with things that are designed to accept mail. But here's the deal. It says here that if they willfully or maliciously injure, deface, or destroy any mail deposited therein. So in that case, they're talking about whether or not you can destroy mail that is in a mailbox. So your vehicle's not a mailbox. So traveling with that envelope addressed to you with stamps on it would not help you with this statute, okay? So then you look at 18 U.S. Code section 1708. Theft or receipt of stolen mail matter generally. And these are long sentences, and I understand that, but I'll try to highlight just the important parts. Whoever steals, takes, or abstracts, or by fraud or deception obtains or attempts so to obtain from out of any mail, post office, or station thereof, letterbox, mail receptacle, or any mail route, or other authorized depository for mail matter, or from a letter or mail carrier, any letter, postal card, package, bag, or mail, or abstracts or removes from any such letter, package, bag, or mail, any article or thing contained therein, or secrets, embezzles, or destroys any such letter, postal card, package, bag, or mail, or any article or thing contained therein, or, and that's the first group of things, and they're talking about messing with the mail while it's in the possession of the post office, and they're basically saying it begins from when it gets put into a mail receptacle and it winds up in a mail receptacle. In between, it travels through the possession of postal people or postal vehicles. So you cannot mess with mail that is from point A to point B, where point A is a mail receptacle and point B is a mail receptacle, okay? So again, having that in your car with the envelope and the stamps on it won't help you. Second, whoever steals, takes, or abstracts, or by fraud or deception obtains any letter, postal card, package, bag, or mail, or any article or thing contained therein, which has been left for collection upon or adjacent to a collection box or other authorized depository of mail matter, shall be fined. And that's talking about something that's left next to a P.O. box, or left next to the postal box, or whatever. Whoever buys, receives, or conceals or unlawfully has in his possession any letter, postal card, package, bag, or mail, or any other article or thing contained therein, which has been so stolen, taken, embezzled, or abstracted as herein described, knowing the same to have been stolen, taken, embezzled, or abstracted, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 5 years or both. So again, this is all talking about the life cycle of a piece of mail. So you sit it down and you handwrite a letter in cursive using a quill pen on parchment. And you handwrite it out and you fold it all up and you stick it in an envelope and you seal it and you put a big old stamp on it and you address it to me and you put return address on it. That is not in the mail system yet. When you take it to the post office or to a letter box, if there's such a thing anymore, and you pull down the thing and you stick it in there, it is now in the system and it is protected. And it remains so protected until it's put in a box at its destination and that person retrieves it. And I know what you're thinking. Some people are going to say, Steve, what if you addressed it wrong? Not enough stamps. Then it would come back to you and wind up in your mailbox. Okay? So it's protected between those 2 points inclusive. So again, putting stamps on it and putting it in an envelope and putting it in your car, there's no help for you with the U.S. code. Now, you will be fined or imprisoned for not more than 5 years or both should you violate that. But again, unless you are a postal worker and your vehicle is a postal truck, those stamps in that envelope ain't going to help you any. Now, let's talk about state laws. State laws. Because here's a little bit better. I still don't know if it'll help you or not, but Michigan law. So the Michigan compiled laws are MCLs. They are contained in the blue books behind me, but I printed it on blue paper here for me. Taking, holding, concealing, or destroying mail addressed to another person. Prohibited conduct. Violation as a crime. Penalties. Applicable whether alive or deceased. Yeah, we think of everything here in Michigan. MCL 445.33. A person shall not take, hold, conceal, or destroy mail addressed to another person with the intent to defraud any person or deprive the person to whom the mail was addressed of the mail. Now you go, wait a second, Steve. A person shall not take, hold, conceal, or destroy mail addressed to another person with the intent to defraud any person or deprive the person to whom the mail was addressed of the mail. As a person who violates this section is guilty of a crime punishable as follows. The section applies whether a person whose mail is obtained is an individual, is alive, or deceased. Section does not prohibit a person from being charged with, convicted of, or sentenced for any other violation of law committed by that person using mail obtained in violation of the section. That's pretty much the entire prohibition section. So a person shall not take, hold, conceal, or destroy mail addressed to another person. The question then becomes, what is mail? What is mail? Now, one thing a lot of people don't understand is they go, oh, we need a definition. Let's go find a dictionary. No. Quite often, statutes have their own definitions. And that's lost on a lot of people, unfortunately. But here, mail is defined. It is defined. Mail and Mail Depository Protection Act 445.32. Definitions, Section 2. As used in this act, mail means a letter, postal card, package, bag, or any other article or thing contained therein, or other sealed article addressed to a person. Period. Does not say it's got to be in the postal system for it to count. So you might say, Steve, wait a second. This idea about putting an envelope, stamping it, and addressing it to myself might actually make sense because that would be mail under Michigan's Mail and Mail Depository Protection Act of 2019. And I'd say, well, here's the problem. It says, going back to 445.33, sub 1, a person shall not take, hold, conceal, or destroy mail addressed to another person with the intent to defraud. Well, a police officer wouldn't be trying to defraud you by taking the money with civil asset forfeiture. That's what they would argue. They say, no, it's not, we're not defrauding you of anything. But it does say, or deprive the person to whom the mail was addressed. So if a person took the mail with the intent to deprive you of it, then that'd be a violation of this statute. And by the way, you might say, Steve, what's a person? Also defined in this statute. A person in this statute means an individual, partnership, corporation, limited liability company, association, or other legal entity. That is as broad as it gets, my friend. Is a police department a legal entity? I hope so. Is a police officer an individual? Well, they are an individual, but they're operating in a professional capacity under the legal entity of the police department, I would assume. So that would seem to be a person tampering with the mail. And then the question is, a person shall not take mail addressed to another person or deprive the person to whom the mail was addressed. So, despite the fact that the federal statute will not help you in this case, because stamping the envelope and addressing it to yourself and holding it yourself, it hasn't gotten into the mail system yet. Michigan's statute defines mail simply as a letter, postal card, package, bag, or other article addressed to a person. So if you take it and put it in an envelope, put stamps on it for appearances, and address it to somebody, it is now mail. So if you are in the state of Michigan and someone deprives you of that mail, you can make an argument that they've broken this statute. Will it work? I don't know. Because remember, the mere violation of one statute does not give you a pass on all other statutes or vice versa. So they could argue and say, okay, we violated your silly little act, but you're breaking the law, therefore, and muddy the waters that way. Likewise, they could say, well, okay, so somebody violated this silly little mail protection statute, but you were carrying cash with the proceeds of a crime. And this is the kind of thing that I wonder if more people start talking about this, if the state legislature won't be forced to address this loophole. Because it is a pretty big loophole that you could drive a truck through. And the loophole is that the letter, postcard, package, bag, or other article or thing contained therein is simply a sealed article addressed to a person. Addressed to a person. Doesn't have to be in the postal system. That's the big distinction here. Would it work? I don't know. But keep in mind, for you to test this, you'd have to put it in an envelope, address it to yourself. I would suggest throwing stamps on it for looks, and then be in the state of Michigan for it to happen. So there's 49 other states out there. But it's not the craziest thing I've ever seen. So there you go. So in short answer, will it help you to put your money in an envelope addressed to yourself and stamp it? In most places, I don't think so, because I don't think the federal statute is going to apply to that. In Michigan, you can make the argument, but we'd have to see how it goes. But Sam, thanks for sending the story. I appreciate it. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. There's an unspoken bond you create with friends you travel with.